My God, I hate drugs.
Because I'm deeply concerned about the statement that we don't see the actions of China as a threat. We are relying on the statement that these are defensive weapons. Now, defensive weapons are always targeted at someone else. And who is it targeted to? It's targeted against a threat.
Aggressors.
They put up military facilities, they need to defend that. Defend it from whom? Defend it from somebody who poses a threat to those facilities. And who do we think are they considering a threat? Aren't these reefs and islands within the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone? That is under international law. It is within our sovereign rights. That any time, as mentioned earlier, we are supposed to have the rights to do patrolling in the area. We do overflight. So obviously, we are the threat to them. That if we engage, that's why sabi nga, dapat prudent tayo, because they would consider it a threat if we make a move anywhere there within our exclusive economic zone. So those defensive weapons are actually aimed at us. I find it difficult to accept the statement that it is not a threat to us. Because it is. Magpadala tayo nga ng barko dun baka takatutok agad yun. Because a defensive weapon is always directed at a threat. As far as Chinese are concerned, yung lalapit dyan is a threat. And they know very well na tayo ang may possibility na pumasok dyan. Because we have the sovereign rights. So that is a threat to us. And with all due respect to my very good friend, Secretary Cayetano, I don't think we should compare yung ICBM to the surface-to-air, surface-to-surface missiles that are deployed there. Because I really do not think the Chinese will use the ICBM to attack the Philippines. It is within range, talagang madali na tayong tirahin, but it's not, that's very unlikely to happen.
Mr. Chair.
If I may finish.
Sorry, sir.
Yung ICBM, hindi natin isipin na threat sa atin yun. Because China will not launch that ICBM towards us. But the surface-to-surface missile, the surface-to-air missile that is there within our exclusive economic zone, or at least within range, that is something that they can use against us. That's why we should be concerned. We don't have to be concerned with the ICBM, but we should be concerned about the short-range surface-to-surface missile, surface-to-air missile that is there. We send our frigates there or our patrol craft. Definitely, the Chinese will react. Sasabihin nila, oh, you are within our territory, you are within our airspace. And having those defensive military facilities there, that's directed towards us. So let's not be put into a sense of complacency na defensive weapons yan, hindi yan threat sa atin. I'm sorry, but that is my view on this matter. And probably our defense and military officials can...
Mr. Chair, before that, can I just clarify the statement of the President? Hindi po sinabi ni Presidente na hindi threat sa atin. In fact, sabi ni Presidente, lahat ng weapons ay threat sa lahat. Kaya nga sabi niya, wag tayong makialam sa away ng higante. He doesn't want the Philippines to be a target. Any kinds of weapons are a threat to everyone. Kung may baril ako dito, I'm a threat to all of you. I'm also a threat to myself. That's why even if I'm a member of the cabinet, kung may dala ako, I will leave it outside. Ang sinabi po ni Presidente, those were not directed towards us. Because po, sa national security strategy ng US ngayon, kinall out ang China as the strategic rival. No? And yung kanilang freedom of navigation, dumadagdag. They're putting more high-tech and bigger Navy ships. They're going nearer. So, nagre-respond din yung China. Yung tanong nyo kanina, chicken or the egg, nagre-respond ba ang China? Nagre-respond ang US? So, ang sinasabi lang po ng ating Pangulo, no, he doesn't want it there. But some people are making it appear na kaya nating alisin yun doon. So, ang sinasabi ni Pangulo, kung talagang tayo ang target ng China, they have weapons that can reach us. And I beg to disagree that they will not use ICBMs versus I agree with you, the strategic weapons, like the nuclear warheads, cannot be used. But remember, the intercontinental ballistic missiles you can put traditional, conventional loads there. So whether it's our Navy ships or it's Palawan o Metro Manila, kung gusto nila tayong girahin, yun ang sinasabi ni Presidente. Diba? Because nga, the critics and some people were making it too made na para bang umaatras si Presidente o pinapayagan niya. So let me assure you, Congressman, no one said that it's not a threat. But we also don't agree that we just take one side, which is the side of our allies. Because definitely, we have to look at both sides of it. Hindi to masosolve if the US says na okay lang na may base kami sa Australia, Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Philippines, and China, sumunod ka na lang. Because China is also a superpower. And we're not defending China. We're trying to articulate to the public the reality so that we can solve it. But if we blind ourselves and just say na, hindi, tama US, tama yan, tama, hindi ho masosolve. The US will continue to ramp up, they'll ramp up. I'll give you another example, sir. Sinabi po ni NSA, may submarines ang neighbors natin. So you can ask me the same question, hindi ba threat sa atin yon? Oh,
Mr. Chairman, let me respond to that now. First of all, I was not questioning the President. As I mentioned, my question was directed to the defense and military officials because I find it difficult to hear from defense and security. I haven't heard from the AFP. Consider the positioning of military weapons within the range of Philippine territory as a non-threat. I'm directing it not at the President, Your Honor, but to our defense and military officials, because they will be the ones who will eventually advise the President.
Mr. Chairman, I'll tell you why the military is not answering. If you notice, the military of Vietnam, Malaysia, and China is also not answering. It's the diplomats. Because once na magsalita yung military, yan yung headline, threat. Then the PLA will react. Then the military of Vietnam will react. Then the Malaysia. The military's duty is to always think that they are all a threat. NPA is a threat. Terrorist is a threat. All these countries with weapons is a threat. Ako na magsasabi for them. Walang nagsasabing hindi threat. Si Presidente nagsabing kanino directed. But if sila magsabi niyan ngayon, yun lang yung headline, hindi yung context. And then you'll have a headline in China tomorrow. PLA saying AFP a threat. And then a headline to Malaysia. That's what we're saying,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman, in diplomacy, you really don't have to say everything na gano'n. Pwede naman hindi na magsalita.
No, that's why nga, sir, sabi ko sa
the absence of a statement to say na they're not a threat won't do harm. But to say that it's not a threat, it gives us discomfort.
But who said it's not a threat, sir? There's no one who said it's not a threat.
It was just stated a while ago.
No, sir.
When the
Sinabi ko
NSA
it's not directed at us.
That's it. When it's not directed at us, it's the same thing that you're saying that it's not a threat. Kung wala nang sinabi na hindi ito threat, no harm,
Mr.
no
Chairman,
harm done.
if we may discuss this in executive session, we can argue all we want that there's no problem in saying that. But we're the one who has to deal with the diplomatic problems that arise when it is said that way. Secretary Lorenzana knows that very well because when he makes statements, I get calls. When I make statements, he gets calls. That's why we try to coordinate kung sino magsasalita. But to be fair to the AFP, they're prepared, they're on the ground, and they have threat assessments and they have contingency plans, sir.
Well, the spokesperson already said that they are. Just to finish this statement, Your Honor, the spokesperson already said that Malacanang is concerned. We could have stopped at that. It's the same message, but to say na it's not, they don't consider it a threat, then, anyway, we can proceed to, you want us to have confidence, di ba?
Well, let's go into executive session. No? So I'd like to...
Yes, Mr. Chairman, being the author of the resolution, proposed resolution calling for the convening of the National Security Council, and owing to the question of the Honorable Go, if I may pitch in for that resolution. First of all, this resolution, I filed this resolution because of the recent developments that have unfolded. Although the NSC was convened back in 2016 as revealed by the NSA, recent developments, I feel, make it urgent for us to do this again. Excuse me. The very reasons are also evident during this hearing or this meeting. The fact that the chair of the committee called for this briefing means that the legislature is in dire need of information of what the strategy and direction of the foreign policy of the executive department is going to. The questions raised by the Honorable Acop when he interjected earlier, he was asking what kind of legislation could be passed. The statements of the Honorable Secretary of Foreign Affairs, where he is calling on the legislature to trust the Department of Foreign Affairs and the Executive Department. Of course, this trust is earned, and it is through transparency that trust is earned. So the National Security Council could be a venue where this trust is earned. The call for a concerted action by the different high-level officials, members of Congress, cabinet secretaries, even former presidents, because we really need to have a concerted stand against this. As I mentioned in my earlier statement when I talked, diplomacy starts between ourselves. Tayo unang dapat nagkakasunduan. Of course, yung issues involved compel us now to make different stands. But I think that if we all got together through the mechanism of the National Security Council, we can move forward in facing the same direction. There was talk about the issue of funding for the armed forces modernization, funding for the creation of a policy institute. I think it is something that that is also going to be talked about. Maybe part of the agenda if the NSC convenes. There was a concern raised by Representative Manalo about the deployment of Filipino workers to China, because that's how national security is. It isn't limited to military concerns. It's socio-economic, defense, all major aspects, and we believe that having the NSC convene could be a good step towards coming up with a common stand. Of course, it's really up to the President. The resolution is mainly for Congress to express its sense and urge the President. Now, before I end, Mr. Chairman, and we go into executive session, can I just have one question thrown to our defense and military officials